Hi, I'm Andy Hayward, and you are watching a podcast where nostalgia comes alive. It's Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. Roll it!
Welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. Join Jake and his friends on a journey through pop culture of the past, where they interview professionals in the worlds of acting, directing, writing, puppeteering, and so much more. Who will they be chatting with today? Find out in this Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode.
Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, where nostalgia comes alive. Happy here with us. Thank you for joining. As always, I'm your host, Jake Duffenbaugh. Who today, our co-host, Chris Bixby. How's it going?
Doing good, Jake. Hello, everybody. Whoever's watching or listening. How are you, Jake?
Doing great, Chris. Thank you for asking. And so one of our other co-hosts, Matt Bingle, can't make it to this episode, but he sends his best wishes.
Yes. So we had a wonderful interview today. You folks will love it. Jake, tell us a little bit about who we had.
Absolutely. Exactly. Thank you, Chris. So, of course, our chat today with Tracie Mick. She's a puppeteer. Most of you may know her work mostly from a Sesame Workshop, but she's also got to be involved in various Disney shows, including Playhouse Disney Live on Stage. And we're also going to talk her time working with Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Imagineering, and so much more throughout this episode. Enjoy the chat. See you then.
See you then.
Three. Hello everyone, welcome to Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show, the podcast where nostalgia comes alive. Today we have with us is the amazing Tracie Mick. Welcome, Tracie. Happy to have you here.
Hi, thank you. Happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Yes, a pleasure to have you here. So thank you very much. So to kick things off, we know who you are, but for those who haven't, could you tell our audience a bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. My name is Tracie Mick, and I have worked with the Walt Disney Company for about 27 years. I'm also a film and television puppeteer, and I just recently left Walt Disney World, and now I work at Universal Epic Universe. I'm building the infrastructure of their puppetry department.
Nice. So, what was your childhood like, and how did you grow up?
I had a really good childhood, actually. I grew up up until the age of 9 with both of my parents married. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, which was really nice. Carpools, all those types of things. When my mom and dad got divorced, my mom had to start working, and so my brother really kind of took the lead on being like a junior parent to me, because it was just the two of us. So that's something I really cherish, because he's not only my older brother that I look up to, but he's also my best friend, and I don't know what I would do without him. So sometimes whenever something icky happens or something unforeseen happens, that's a bit of a shock, can oftentimes turn out to be something that's actually pretty wonderful. So I'm very thankful with everything that's happened in my life. And I'm also very thankful that I was able to enjoy it. So yeah, I love it. I love the 80s so much. So I loved all of that stuff.
Nice.
That's great. I'm kind of curious, was puppetry kind of like always something you wanted to pursue as a career?
Funny enough, no. I grew up in the 80s, so I grew up on the Muppets. I grew up on Fraggle Rock. I grew up on Sesame Street, as everybody grows up on Sesame Street. But
Right.
I was just one of those bizarre kids that my brother very much saw that, oh my gosh, I could be an actor. I could be like Donnie and Marie. That's what he wanted to do. Concentration in ballet up until I was about 9 years old. And then I became a professional amateur skateboarder.
Oh, wow.
And I discovered acting, and I auditioned to go to theater school. And so that's where I went to high school. and I fell in love with it. And from then on, I wanted to be on Saturday Night Live. So I got married a couple of years after high school. And before we moved to New York and I became rich and famous on SNL, he wanted to try to throw his hat in the ring to become a Disney animator. So I was like, that sounds fun. We can do that. It'll be nice and chill. I'll audition for entertainment. That'll be fun just before everything in my life gets crazy. So I auditioned for entertainment and I was cast as a puppeteer. And it was everything about acting that I was so passionate about, but with the added element of bringing an inanimate object to life. So to me, that was just the coolest thing on the planet. And that totally filled my heart, and actually made my heart overflow with joy to be able to discover this art form. So I learned everything I could. And after the first 6 months of working at Disney, I auditioned for entertainment and I was cast as a puppeteer at Legend of the Lion King at Magic Kingdom.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That was great.
Yeah. And I had the opportunity about 6 months in to audition for a television show. And that's when I was cast in Pahapahui as Allie. And that's what I knew I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I was just like, this is it. That I've never felt more alive. I've never felt more invigorated. And I feel like everybody, if you've had the good fortune of discovering what your passion and what your talent is, that's a feeling that it's a feeling that you only feel when you're doing exactly what you're meant to do, if that makes any sense. So
Right.
to discover
Yeah.
that was just so incredible. And every time I perform, I still feel that way. I still, when I create with another puppeteer or I'm teaching someone, it's still that passion, that fire, that it's almost like an out of body experience. It's magic. It's magical.
Right. Right. So do you remember your first professional puppeteering job? Like was Disney the first for you?
It was, yep. I did Legend of the Lion King at Disney. And then like I said, not too soon after that, I was cast as Allie in Papahui. And then I was really, really fortunate because I had really great leaders at Disney that really encouraged me to go out and establish my career and keep that going and maintain that at the same time as having a full-time job at Disney. So I know that that's not a lot of people's story, but that's my story. And so I was very, very fortunate to be able to continue my professional career in addition to having a full-time job as a puppeteer at Disney. So it was really cool.
Nice.
That's great. So since the 90s, you worked as a puppeteer and creative consultant for various Disney stage shows. How did that how did that job came to be?
Well, I dropped my status at Disney about 10 years after working there, and we moved to China to shoot a television show there. And that was when I first got my first contract with Sesame Street to be a performer on Sesame Street. Sorry, it's early. And my life changed dramatically, and I needed to have a more consistent, reliable job that I couldn't depend on freelancing because I had 2 kids. So I needed to have something more consistent. And so I reached out to my dear friend and mentor, Jeff Conover, and I was like, I need a job. And so he was like, actually, this is perfect timing because Disney Cruise Line needs a lot of help because we're having a lot of puppetry coming through. So it was really easy to plug me in to that role. Not to mention it was a great fit for me, but it was not taking anything away from the park to take someone from the park and put them in those roles. So I was able to take that role, and with that role, we just kept creating new puppet shows that were primarily driven with puppets. The story was driven with puppets. So just I think it kind of, I was grandfathered into that role. And again, I was building the infrastructure for Cruise Line at the same time, for their puppetry department. So yeah, I was able to be the puppetry director for Tangled, for Beauty and the Beast, for I'm blanking. Oh, for Toy Story, for
Nice.
yeah, it was extremely fulfilling, and I feel like the older I get, the more I realize different experiences throughout my life has brought me to exactly the right place that I'm supposed to be, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. So
Yeah, totally.
so some of the stage shows you worked on were the Playhouse Disney live shows and the Bear in the Big Blue House shows. What were those experiences like for you?
Um, then again, it was for the for Disney at that time, there really wasn't a lot of hand and rod puppetry. We only had at that time, I think the only hand puppet we had was Sebastian. And then we also did a show called The Disney Crew, which was um, a say no to drug awareness show
Oh,
that would travel throughout Central Florida. And ironically enough, Tyler Bunch used to do that show as well.
I love Tyler.
Tyler,
Yeah,
he's
he's great.
great. Yeah,
Yeah, he's really great.
absolutely.
So those are the only puppeteers, if you had done that show, that we had to cultivate and be able to utilize when we were opening those shows, because other than that, we only had mechanical puppetry. But it was really, really great because we did get to work closely with Tyler and Peter and Noel. Noel would come
Uh,
down a lot to come and see our show.
Peter, no, they're wonderful too.
Yeah, they're really
Great
great.
guys.
And I feel like they were very proud of it. I know that when it comes to when they duplicate certain productions, it does become a little bit of a nail biter because you don't know how it's going to come to fruition and how it's going to be. And they were very pleased with how we developed it and what the outcome was. They really, really liked it.
Nice.
With Playhouse Disney, it was really neat because we got to utilize all of the puppetries and all of the IP that was in all of the Playhouse Disney lineup on television. So we got to do Roly Poly, we got to do Stanley,
Mm-hmm.
JoJo's Circus, and all that content is just really, really fun. So I really enjoyed it. It was really great. And honestly, like those puppeteers that we all worked with were still very, very close to this day. So it was a very intimate project that we all got to work on in that show for the longevity that it ran, and how close we all became. It was a very, very special time for all of us.
Absolutely. Well, actually, since you're talking about the Disney stage shows, recently we previously interviewed Art Vega,
Oh
who
yeah,
worked on that. Yeah.
yeah, out in California.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I know we like in the past, like a bit while ago, we got a chat with the nerd too.
Yes, I love him. We
He's
did.
Yeah.
the best.
He's
He
so awesome.
is.
I
He's
actually,
great.
I just worked with
Great friend of ours.
because Ben and Andy are really, really good friends, Ben DeRusha.
Yeah.
And
Ben, you
yeah,
literally just had him on.
yeah. And so it was really cool because I worked with Andy on Elmo's Christmas Countdown, and we went through the Sesame workshop when we all started to when they were having the workshops back in like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
So we went through the workshop together, which was really cool, and we became really good friends with that. And then I worked with Ben on Disney Cruise Line when we did
Oh,
Toy
nice.
Story, and then I just worked with Ben again with doing these Top Golf commercials. So it was really cool to come full circle, and we were all talking about like Andy, and then we called Andy. It was really cool. It was really neat to like meet back up, get the party back together.
That's wonderful.
That's great. It's kind of a perfect transition, even though you kind of mentioned a little bit of your work, with Disney Cruise on already. But can you talk about your work with them? doing that?
Sure. I built the infrastructure. So at the time, when I came back from China, I was in Disney Imagineering, and it's a certain part of Disney Imagineering called Characters, Programs, and Development. And so that's where all of the articulated puppetry comes from. In addition to a lot of that is that department is sourced to do worldwide shows as well. So with Cruise Line, I was able to build that infrastructure for their puppetry department. So I was able to do all of the documentation for all of the shows, like Frozen, and Beauty and the Beast and Tangled and all of those big shows. In addition to, I was training the trainers, basically training the puppet specialists so that they could then carry through the vision and making sure that we're maintaining that vision as well. I also learned a lot about repairing the puppets because their structure isn't the same as what we have at Walt Disney World, or in the other parks, actually. I think now because they're getting bigger, they do have technical support, but yeah, I learned a lot about building. And with that, learning a lot about building, I also was able to build a lot of great connections with our vendors and things like that, because I was in constant communication with them, asking them how to fix an Olaf head or anything like that. But the most thing that I cherished was to be able to actually create the intention of these characters, to actually direct these performers to act through these puppets. And when you sit in an audience and when you're watching Beauty and the Beast and all of these characters you think that they're going to die, and you can hear literally a pin drop in the house. Like, to me, a puppet is giving you that feeling, that deep-seated feeling of emotion and empathy and compassion. That's magic. That's magical, So that's what I got to do. I got to cultivate all of that, and I got to work with these actors in order to build this relationship between the two of us that is, deep trust and communication, and the end result were these beautiful, beautiful shows.
Absolutely. So speaking of Walt Disney Imagineering, because you talked about animatronic puppetry, how would you kind of compare that to regular hand puppetry?
It's interesting because anytime I teach a workshop or I'm introducing people to puppetry, I always use hand and rod puppetry as like the ballet of dance. It's incredibly technical, and you can't hide any flaws in it because it really is just your hand, and it's just a cloth over your hand. So any tiny movement that you do with your hand is going to be seen. So a lot of the technique comes from hand and rod puppetry. And so if you can start that as a basis and start to talk about the vocabulary and what very few rules of puppetry, but all of those things can be then implemented into any style of puppet that you use: mechanical, bunraku, wearable, articulated, any of those things. They're all of the rules are the same. The only difference is that how you then implement those rules. And even as a hand puppet, all hand puppets are different, though you would still puppeteer them all the same, if that makes any sense.
Right.
So that's where my passion and my my geeky side comes out, because I'm like, the incredible art form that is so simple, and it is so difficult all at the same time, just like ballet. You're using every single muscle in your body to make this dance look completely effortless and organic and flawless, but they're literally using every single muscle and controlling everything in their body. So if you're a hip hop dancer or you're a tapper, you're still going to want to take ballet, because that's the basis, that's the technique, right? And then you can implement that into any style of dance.
Right.
So it's the same with puppetry. I use that as an example a lot.
Nice.
Awesome. Since you kind of talk a little bit of, getting to being a puppeteer for Sesame Street for over years. How do you kind of first began working for them?
I went to Atlanta to, well, I went to Atlanta to audition for a new Sesame Street character, and it was Abby Cadabby. And so
Oh, wow.
yeah. And
Interesting.
so, yeah. And so I was called up to New York for final callbacks. Obviously, I didn't get it, but um, what I did get the opportunity to be invited to the workshop. And then with that, through the workshop, I then started to come in for, a couple of weeks at a time, or, hey, can you come up for just a week? Or can you come up for a couple of days? And so that's
Yeah.
how it was kind of integrated into, and then, finally came to getting a contract. So it was a really cool journey and something that I value and hold really close to my heart, because it was just, that's the ultimate. Like, I always ask people, when I'm building that relationship with a puppeteer, what is your Super Bowl moment? Like, what is the ultimate thing that could happen to you in your life that would just be right? And to me, that was my Super Bowl moment. Like, to be able to be on Sesame Street, that was just like the coolest.
Absolutely. I mean, when you got to, mention a bit of which you got to audition for Abby Cadabby, I'm so glad that the amazing Leslie Craig Rudolph got to do, Abby. Like she's done such a
Yeah.
like she's just the best. She's a wonderful performer.
Yeah, absolutely. So now with the actual show, do you have any favorite episodes that you worked on?
um, the A-Team episode with Ryan Reynolds was really fun.
Oh,
I
nice.
um I remember like just chatting with him. He's standing there in the big A, and we were talking about Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. That's the show. Where they come in and like redo somebody, like they change their hair and they change. So that was really fun. That's a
Yeah, I think I
special
might
memory
remember
for
that
me.
episode.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Right.
Telly was in it. He had like the
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
gold
Yeah,
chains and
Abby,
everything.
Almo.
Yeah.
yeah.
But honestly, every episode that I was able to work on with like Peter or Matt or Kevin.
Wonderful
Bill
guys.
was one of my,
Bill
because
Beretta.
Yeah.
Bill Beretta
Such
is
wonderful
like,
names.
he's an incredible person and incredible puppeteer. And to go into some place where you just feel so exposed and you're like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to mess up and get fired. To have that, those guys were so encouraged. I was assisting them and I was done, and how was that? Was that okay? And they're like, yeah, great, that was awesome, thank you. They would always say thank you, and I just value that so much. And even having still worked with them now, they still do that. They're still so sweet and they're so gracious and kind and patient. That to me, I know it's not a favorite episode, but that's a favorite memory that I have
Right,
of
yeah,
working with all of them. Um,
absolutely.
yeah, and it's, they would get done with like all this time shooting, and then they would dedicate an additional hour to take pictures or photos with guests that had come onto the set, or
Yeah.
after doing a whole shoot with the Muppets for a whole day, they still wait there for an extra hour and take photos, like, so patiently and so kind. um, and I just admire that so much. It's just so sweet.
Absolutely.
That's great. So aside from the show, you also puppeteered on Sesame Street 4D movie magic. What was that like?
I did actually. I was 8.5 months pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And I was, again, I wore like these big overalls because I just wanted to work so badly. I didn't want them to be like, oh, no, 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 you don't have to work because you're pregnant. And I remember later on talking to Carmen about it, and she was like, oh my gosh, you didn't have, we would have never, like, said anything about you being pregnant. I'm like, I know, but I didn't want to be, treated like I was going to break or something. I just wanted to do it. But it was incredible. I was a dinger puppet that was at the register
Oh,
when they
nice.
were on the street. So I just sat there and did my little register situation. But yeah, that was great. I loved it. It was really awesome.
Nice. Nice. So you also worked on
Yeah, Carmen's great too.
yeah,
Yeah, Carmen. Yeah,
love
she's
Yeah,
great.
Carmen.
she's great.
Yeah.
So sweet. So you also worked on the Christmas special, as we mentioned earlier, Elmo's Christmas Countdown, which
Yes.
also featured a lot of celebrity guests. What was that? What was working on that like? Because huge special, a lot of celebrity guests.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Um, I really that was like the first big thing that I had done, it felt like. Because I had just come off of doing the workshop. I was with Andy and I was with Artie Esposito and all of the core puppeteers were on this shoot. And so I was so scared, but again, everybody was so welcoming and so kind. And I remember I was this little turtle and train of thought. Hold on. I'm trying to remember her name.
The what?
The singer.
Oh, Jennifer Hudson, was it
Thank
that
you.
one? Yeah.
Jennifer Hudson. Yes.
I love that. I love that
Yeah.
scene. That's like
Yeah.
that
That was great.
It
that
was
was such a beautiful
so
number.
it was so great. And what was
Right?
so wonderful about it to me, and maybe it's I was so my senses were so heightened at that time because I was just so thankful. Everything felt like a dream. And he he hadn't really made it super big yet, and so that was one of her first things that she's really broken out to be able to do. And I remember having a conversation with her, and I was looking up at her and she was looking down at me and she was like, I'm so nervous. And I was like, me too. And so that was really, it was just a moment that was so real and so wonderful. And I will just always remember that. In addition to, I loved recording the penguins.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Singing Jingle Bells.
Yes. Yes.
That was pretty awesome.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's great. So, can you talk about, some of the outreach projects you got to do with Sesame?
Sure. We did a community outreach. The families stand together during difficult times.
Hmm.
With Al Roker, we did. I was a little goat, so we had all of these little tables. That was like a yard sale to help with the community when the communities are going through hard times. We also were able to do a couple of outreach projects with Army families or military families, which was really
Oh yeah.
special as well. Yeah, that was really cool.
Nice. Absolutely. And there was also a special when families grieve that you
Yeah.
work on when they talk about Elmo's uncle.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think that's when I
That was a
was
sweet moment.
when I was Bill's right hand for Elmo's dad. That was when he was still Elmo's dad.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
nice.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
That's
That
wonderful.
was really cool.
So
That's great.
you also got to puppeteer with Sesame Street in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade for several years. What was it like getting to kind of work with them on such a huge, televised event?
Uh, it's funny. It felt like a fire hose in the face because it just all happens so quickly and you don't know what to expect.
Hmm.
And it's just like this is just such a big thing. In my first parade, I was in Big Bird's Nest with Elmo and I was Zoe. Um, and yeah, it was the coolest thing ever. It was awesome. And that's one of the things that I just value so much because Kevin was my mentor on Sesame. And
Kevin, yeah.
he was so great and so encouraging. And at times I really felt like he believed more in me than I believed in myself. But it's moments like that, being in the nest or, being the count in the top part of a float and it's raining and it's snowing and you're freezing and you just don't want it to end. It's just the coolest thing. It's so fun.
Wow, that's great.
That's wonderful. So now, moving on from Sesame Street, you also had the pleasure of working with the Muppets on a few projects. Can you talk about some of them you got to be involved?
Absolutely. I did a project with D23, with Matt and Eric. We also did some it was something for Animal Kingdom. But we did like a overnight shoot for that. And the coolest part of that is to watch Eric and Matt talk about their characters and talk about talking through the script and walking through it and pitching lines and saying why something's funny and where to hit the punchline, and just the timing of everything. It was incredible. My mind was absolutely blown. And if I could be a fly on the wall all the time, it would be like the ultimate, because I probably learned more on that shoot than I have in the past like 10 years. It was incredible. It was so wonderful.
Absolutely. So, another series you worked on, which we talked about kind of earlier, was Pahui Island. What was working on that like?
Um, I loved working on Pahapahui. I loved the cast that I worked with. I loved the crew. Everything about it. It was just such a great project that we all got to keep coming back and doing. And it was always better than the last time. And if it could even be better. And we all had so much fun. And I learned so much on that project too, because being Allie, and it was a lot of her journey for the first couple of episodes. So I was the only one that was on set for a really long time. So I was able to experiment with the different camera angles and playing the different cameras, and you know, being able to not feel like it's not okay to mess up, or that nobody's perfect and it's fine. It was such a great environment to grow and learn in.
Absolutely.
I cherish it very much. It was a very, very special project. It was awesome.
Definitely.
That's wonderful. Since we're kind of getting close to wrapping up soon, can you share any projects you're currently working on?
Currently I am working on the new stuff that's coming to Epic Universe. So stay tuned on that, because it's gonna be awesome and epic.
That's
awesome.
wonderful.
Lots of puppet stuff coming.
Nice.
Cool.
Looking forward to
Nice.
more of those.
Yes. So to wrap this up, so this podcast is called Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show. When you think of nostalgia, what do you think of, or how do you define nostalgia?
I want to say that my laptop defines nostalgia.
Oh, look at that. There you go.
Wow.
So I
That's
have
cool.
Hello Kitty and Sesame Street. These are the things that are such innocent things that I remember as a kid that just brought me so much joy. All of the 80s things like Richard Simmons and Mr. T and the A-Team and Sesame Street and Hello Kitty and Jelly Bracelets and like all of those. That to me is nostalgic, and anything that literally puts a smile on your face when you see it, or you're like, what? That's nostalgia to me. And it just does something to my heart that just fills it with joy.
That's wonderful.
That's wonderful. Thank
Great.
you.
Well, Tracie, again, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely. Thank you so much. And I keep up great work of what you're doing now. I cannot wait what's next in store.
Oh, thank you.
Looking forward for more. Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, all right. Enjoy the rest of your day, Tracie. This was
Thank
fun.
you. You too. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again, Tracie. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
It's goodbye from us as well, everyone. We absolutely enjoyed our time with the wonderful Tracie Mick. Links to her social media will be in the description down below for anyone who wants to connect with her or check out her work on her Instagram. She's posted a lot of wonderful behind the scenes pictures from projects she's worked on, like Almost Christmas Countdown and Disney stuff, on all that wonderful stuff. But anyway, yeah, keep on the lookout for more wonderful interviews coming your way. As always, what do you say, Jake?
Keep nostalgia alive. Take care, everyone. See you next time. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another wonderful Jake's Happy Nostalgia Show episode. Be sure to follow Jake and the Happy Nostalgia team on social media, check out our website, and stream the show wherever you find your favorite podcasts. And as always, remember to keep nostalgia alive. Bye-bye.